Laurens County Lowdown is presented by Self Regional Healthcare.
Welcome back to the Laurens County Lowdown. Our guest this week is my broadcast partner on the Raider Sports Network. He is a coach with the Green Boys Raider baseball team. But before that, he was the 2016 South Carolina Gatorade Player of the Year, an Under Armour top prospect, a Shrine Bowl participant in football, a multi-time all-region athlete in baseball and football, and the 84th overall pick in the 2016 Major League Baseball Draft. Thomas Jones. Thomas, how are you doing today?
I'm pretty well. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. We're recording this on Wednesday morning, so by the time you see this, the Raiders will have been in action against J.L. Mann, so that's the reason we're not talking anything about that. So if anything crazy happened, that's why you're not going to hear anything from us here. But wanted to take a minute, Thomas, while we're kind of in the zone of football talking or football starting and all of those things, wanted to take a minute to get you on here and have a little bit of conversation both about you and about your story and your journey as one of, I think, maybe 2-3 folks who have been drafted out of Laurens, who have made it into professional baseball, but then also to kind of get a little bit, I hope we can kind of have an evergreen conversation about kind of what's going on in youth sports right now, what you see. I know you coach at the high school, you're involved in kind of private baseball coaching as well. So I really want to kind of have a conversation about the Thomas Jones story and how that relates into a bigger picture of what's going on. Does that sound good for you?
Oh, no, that's perfect.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to it. Talk me through a little bit about your baseball journey. And what I'm really curious in is, at what point did you realize, okay, I'm really good at this? At what point did you start to realize, like, okay, high Division I college, major leagues, some of these things that really just are dreams for a lot of people had the potential to be a reality for you?
Truthfully, like, just the kind of player I was and the kind of kid I was, like, I never really just thought like baseball. Like, I always had the dream and the aspiration of, like, all right, I want to be a major leaguer. I want to be play baseball on the next level. But college was always the first step for me. And so for me, I guess, like, I can always think about one specific baseball game is when we were in playoffs my freshman year. I forgot the year. I feel like that might have so long ago now. But we were playing against Corey Thompson, who was also a top player in the state. He also got drafted out of high school. He was a shortstop, but he was up to he was pitching that game. He was up to 96. And I remember I faced him. I was hitting third that game as a freshman, and I hit him off the fence, backside in the gap, right center. And I mean, it was like probably 20 to 30 scouts at that game. And I remember everybody after the game, we lost that game, by the way, but all the scouts and stuff after the game, they was like, what grade is this kid in? And he was like, he's a freshman. And that's when Coach Nelson was like, hey, you probably going to get a lot of buzz off of this, because this is a guy, you just got a good base hit. And I was like, yeah, still not thinking, still very clueless, after that. But then going to summer baseball, I finally started playing with like a showcase team out of Greenville. And that's when going into my sophomore year, my summer going into my sophomore year, I got a full ride. I got an offer, my first offer from PC. Full ride. And I didn't know they don't even give full rides in baseball. I didn't even know. There you go. Shout out to Coach Pollock.
Man, what might have been? Imagine if we were sitting here talking about your PC baseball career. Anyway, it's going to be fine. We're going to move on. Go ahead. Yeah.
And
so you hear from Coach Pollock, and then you start
hear from Coach Pollock. He gives me my first offer going into my sophomore year, and I'm kind of like, wow, very hush mouth on, because I'm like, this is unreal. I'm like, all right, I guess things are kind of going in a, north direction. And then, more so than anything, I had a really good summer. Played in front of a lot of scouts, played in front of a lot of locals. So College of Charleston was pretty big on me, Wofford. But they still never pulled the trigger because a lot of coaches are kind of like, well, if we're looking at him and we're so big on him now as a freshman, we're not going to have a shot at him as he's getting older. But, me being so immature and not really knowing how the game and the recruiting world works. I had no idea. So I'm just blessed and I'm thankful for like, all right, PC, cool. You know what I'm saying? I'm rocking with PC right now,
Man,
but
I really am off in a fantasy world right now where Elton got you to sign something and convinced you that it was a legally binding document, and the last 10 years of my life have been so different. Anyway, and at what point, the PCs, the Woffords, the College of Charlestons, those, that's that's Division I baseball. At what point do you start? I know you're saying that there are college scouts, there are pro scouts. At what point do you start like hearing from the bigger schools, hearing the rumblings of, hey, maybe some of these pro teams are looking as well?
So truthfully, when it came to baseball, was recruited more on the football side than anything. So football actually helped me in baseball. So like all these football, so I was telling a lot of scouts, a lot of teams, college teams, because I remember going on my Notre Dame visit, so I got to throw this in here. If I was going to play football, Notre Dame was going to be my school. At the end of the day, I was going to go to Notre Dame. But
what a flex.
Yeah,
every now and then you say things that just blow my mind. Every now and then you drop a oh yeah, when Brian Kelly was talking to me about Notre Dame, blah blah blah, and I just lose it. So sorry, I interrupted you.
No, you're fine. But yeah, Notre Dame was going to be it until, because Torrey Hunter, he's a pro, he's a legend. He's going to be a Hall of Famer if he's not a Hall of Famer anytime. But I looked up to Torrey Hunter with the Twins. He had a really good career also with the Angels. But his son was at Notre Dame at the time, who also was a dual sport athlete. He played football and he played baseball. And I remember being at the school, and the baseball coach was like, look, football in Notre Dame is the closest thing to God. He literally said that verbatim. And I said, well, I cannot come here and play thinking I'm going to play baseball too. So that's when I kind of started looking at other places and then that's when I knew talking to Vanderbilt was pretty big, because crazy story as well. I remember playing against Greenville High School, and a coach from that school, I forgot his name, but he was in connects with a lot of coaches in Tennessee. And that's when he was like, look, it's a kid in South Carolina. He's really good. Then I went on to play Gaffney. I think I was a sophomore. I had 5 hits that game. And I was just like, and the coach there was like, I know some college coaches. We're going to try to, I'm going to tell them about you. Like, you're really good. So that's kind of, for me, it kind of worked in that little way where it was like coaches would see me, other teams, coaches, and they're like, man, this kid is good, and that's when they'll go places like, look, it's a kid in Lawrence. He's really good, he plays, he knows the game. And like I said, on the flip side of football, and I guess on the football side of things, the coaches at football, they was like, well, if we want him to come play football, we got to talk to the baseball coaches. And, and I guess for the football coaches, they was like, this kid, he's top player in the state in South Carolina. They didn't really know that. So I remember going on my Wake Forest visit for football, and the head football coach literally tell me like, you don't want to play no football, man. And at the time, A&M head football coach, what's his name? Mike Yelko. He was a defensive coordinator at Wake Forest. So he would be blowing me up on Twitter all the time, like, man, just play football. And I'm like, man, you just don't know. I like football, but I love baseball. But so, and that's when things kind of like, for me, I say probably about like my junior year, I started getting like text, get a lot of letters and stuff from like pro scouts, pro teams, just letting me know like, hey, like, you have a shot. And it just kind of, and that's when agents at the time, advisors, were like contacting me. I'm like, hey, can we have an in-home meeting? And I was having those like probably like twice a week. But and that's when I was kind of realizing, I'm like, maybe I do have a shot. But still, me being an immature kid, it's still college first. So yeah.
And so you get to your senior year. Now, what I've always understood is that it was basically down to Vanderbilt at that point, that you were going to play both sports at Vanderbilt. And then the draft comes in. Yes. And so how does that work? Kind of explain to me that process of you're talking to the college, but you're also waiting on the draft, and how do you let the coaches at Vanderbilt know what's going on, and what do you know going into the draft, and how that's going to impact your decision?
So like I said, so by this time I finally chose my advisor, but now my agent, Reggie Jefferson. Pretty good guy, really good guy. He played in the major leagues as well, so he kind of had a good parallel with that. He knew how the game went, and so he was just telling me, he was like, look, he was like, right now you're looking like a day 1 or a day 2 guy. I'm like, all right, cool, And he's like, but he was like, what's your number? So going into it, like, not really knowing anything, because my parents, they had no clue. My dad, he's just as amazed as I am. And so he's like, so going into it, my agent's like, well, right now the slot value for, the picks from, let's say 70 to 90, that those picks, your slot value will range from either 850,000 to 600,000, depending on how that goes. And so I was like, and he was like, but on the flip side, you're going to Vanderbilt. And at that time, Vanderbilt was just coming off. They runner up in the College World Series. So at that time, Vanderbilt really, they held weight, So
Yeah.
I was like, all right, what are we going to do? So we finally decided, all right, my number is 800,000. That was my number.
Okay.
Then during the summer, once my senior year ended, I had to go to a lot of workouts. I was going to Atlanta every weekend, because that's where you have a lot of your pro workouts at, like private workouts. And you still commuting back and forth, because my initial plan with Vanderbilt, I was going to enroll early. I was going to enroll up during the summer and start taking classes then. Yeah. But my agent was like, it's up to you. It's your decision. Do you want to go to Vanderbilt? If you get drafted and you decide to go, you got to leave. He said, or you just stay at home and you just enroll just regular. It's like either one, it doesn't affect you. He said, but it's just, it's up to you. And I was like, I don't want to be on campus and then just have to leave. I was like, I don't want that to happen. So I just stayed. But come, with all the workouts and stuff, I did pretty well. As a high school, I'm facing SEC arms at a workout, and I'm hitting guys off the fence. I'm hitting doubles. I hit a home run. And that's when I leave that final workout. And I was like, look, we got to up the number to 900,000. I called my agent. I'm like, look, we got to up the number to 900,000. And he was like, all right, cool. We sticking with that. If you don't get 900,000, you're going to school. And that was the deal. And we set it at that.
And then obviously, so what's the gap between getting drafted and signing that contract? So the Marlins pick you, and then the contract negotiations start.
Yeah,
I guess?
Then it's negotiation. So when the Marlins, so this is also a funny story that's never been told until now. But when the Marlins drafted me, I never picked up the phone. So my agent texted me. So when it all came down, I was at the beach on vacation when it all happened. I wasn't like everybody else with all the family and loved ones. I was just at the beach with my friends, and my agent we were talking, because that's why you have an agent. He was like, look, if somebody calls you, don't pick up the phone. They supposed to call me. I was like, cool, So my agent calls me. He was like, look, the Angels have called, and they were like, look, we will offer you $1.2 million. Because I think they had the 93rd pick at that time or something like that. It was after the Marlins. So originally my number was 900,000. And so then that's when my agent told all the teams. I don't know how they do it, but he reached out to all 30 teams and was like, look, Thomas's new number is $1 million. So if you cannot reach $1 million, we're not signing. We're going to school. And so that's when the Marlins went ahead and drafted me. But their slot value was 750,000. And it was like, and I remember my agent texted me. He was like, look, the Marlins are going to draft you. Don't answer the phone. So I remember being at the beach. I got 5 missed calls from a 305 area code. And my agent was like, look, don't pick up the phone. He was like, I told him you're going to school, because that was like, once you make that deal, it's no turning back. Like, you got to stay with it from our behalf. So I'm like, dang, I'm like, I'm at this point, I'm like, all right, that's a good amount of money, but whatever, cool. That's my deal. And that's when the Angels after the fact. So I'd like the last day to sign is I want to say mid-July that time, because the Marlins were in negotiation with their other first rounds. So I was a third rounder. They didn't have a second rounder that year. They had a first rounder, Braxton Garrett, who was also going to Vanderbilt as well.
Okay.
And his slot value was $3.8 million, which he wanted $5 million. I was $750,000. And I wanted $1 million. And my agent we were in contact, and he was like, look, either you going to get your money or he going to get his. He was like, y'all both can't get it. He was like, that's just how it's going to go. So I ended up getting mine. He ended up getting $4.5 million, which is still an increase. Yeah, crazy.
Man.
Yeah, and so, and that's how everything worked. But like I said, we held out. My agent was like, look, if you don't get $1 million, we going to school. And he was like, are you good with that? And I was like, yeah, that's what we're going to do.
And you were content with that. You were ready to walk away from $800,000 to go spend a year at school.
Yeah. So it's funny as it sounds, Andrew, man, like my family, like I think I still have family members to this day that still wanted me to go to Vanderbilt. just for me to get that experience. Like they're so like academically, like in my family, like with all the accolades I had in sports.
Well, it's a great school.
Yeah, like I mean, just all you're fine. But like all the accolades that I have in sports, it's like who cares? Like to them, it's like who cares? Like all right, whatever, So but I mean, like me looking at it now, it's like I feel like I would have been an idiot to turn it down. But
and I don't know. More power to you to like holding firm, listening to your agent. I cannot imagine a Major League Baseball team is calling me and I'm not answering the phone.
Yeah,
is just wild to me. All right, so when you say $1 million, I think a lot of people don't understand how Major League contracts work and things like that. Is that signing bonus? Is that over the course of a deal? How when you say you got $1 million, what does that mean?
It was just signing bonus. So that was like some players who don't, because you get guys that make up. Who free agency signs, they'll make $5,000, so they call. So I'm considered a bonus baby. That's like the little funny gig or whatever. But yeah, you get it like the first 30 days, you get half of it. Then the next 30 days, you get the other half. So that's just you get it all at once. So you get it, and I kind of did it right,
Man, do they
go ahead?
Do they give you? Do they give you like a novelty check or something? They
just direct.
How do you
direct deposit? It's up to you, however you want to transfer.
Just the deposit hits for $500,000.
You just get it, and I'm not gonna lie. The first time, because I didn't realize that like they were gonna do it like that, and by this time I already had a financial advisor, and I already had that in order, and he was just like, all right, we were already talking numbers and what we're gonna invest and whatever. But when I first saw it, when I first got it in my bank account, I was like, whoa. I kind of got nervous. I'm not gonna lie, but with the signing bonus thing, like I said, you get it split up. So you get the first 500. Then, like I said, of course, it's taxes and everything come into play. That's why when I first got drafted, I had to change my residency to Florida. So I was technically a Tampa resident the whole time I was with I wasn't a South Carolina resident.
Had to get rid of those state income tax.
Yeah, you had to get rid of them a little bit.
Think that kind of thing through.
Yes, and so once I got there, then throughout that, you just get paid regularly. Like, you get paid every 2 weeks, just kind of like, regular job. Like, yeah.
So does it, you look and all of a sudden someone has dropped $500,000 in your bank account. And it does seem like you had really good advice. You had people with you making sure maybe you didn't make some of the mistakes we hear about where people blow it all without realizing they have to pay taxes and things like that. But is there anything you went crazy with in that first paycheck?
Honestly, no. No, actually. I like tennis shoes. I would get shoes, but still, like, I was always one of those people, like, playing baseball, you're on the road. So it's like, if you're going to buy 10 pair of shoes, you still need luggage. And if you know me, I'm tight. I'm cheap. Like, still to this day. I get things that I like, but I'm super cheap. I'm very frugal. And so really, no, like, for the longest, like I wanted to still drive the car that I drove in high school. And it was like my dad and my uncle, they were like telling me like, look, get you something, like you deserve it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, get you a car, like, and I'm like, nah, I'm just gonna drive this for a couple years and then I'll look at getting something. They was like, nah, get you a car. So, it was like people really trying to like force me to get something actually.
Yeah. So you get into the minors. Talk us through kind of that process. How do you get started in the minors? I know there are different levels for, particularly if like there's kids watching this who, man, one day that's it. I want to get drafted. That's the goal. So you get drafted, you sign the contract, everything's great. And then the job starts. And so can you tell us a little bit about life in the minors, what that looks like?
Yeah. Honestly, as soon as you get there, it's baseball. It's fun, but it's a grind. Like when people tell you it's a grind, it really is a true grind. Like I said, my first week, I remember just kind of being there and like waking up. You got to be at the facility at 7 a.m. You're eating breakfast. You got to be out there for early work by 7. About 7, you got to stretch everything you do. If you're hitting, you got to stretch before. You got to do all that stuff. If you don't stretch, you can't hit. Especially if you're a top prospect. I'm currently, at this point, I'm a top prospect. So I'm $1 million man. So it's like everything is like, it's like I'm fragile. So it's like everything I do, I got to be stretched out. So you got to do all that. So like I said, if you got to do that, you got to be there by 7. In reality, you need to be there by like 6:30. So you got to get there, change, get all your work in, early hitting, probably early bunting, early base running, early defense. Then probably by like 8:30, that's when everything starts. And like I said, you probably on the field early work. Like you said, you're doing individual defense, team defense, BP, and that ends at noon. You probably get an hour break. Then you play a game. Because we share the complex with the Cardinals. They're like literally, you see the Cardinals working out. Like Cardinals can see us practicing and stuff. And then you work out. Like I said, once you get that little break, then you play a game, 9 in a game, and you're not done till like 4 or 5 o'clock. So that's literally every single day. And that's spring training as well.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's why, like the grind of it, it's a true grind. Like, regardless, like you're getting up and you're doing every single thing every day. And plus it's 100 degrees outside too.
Yeah. And so you get into that and you jump in, like you said, 3rd round pick. I guess you said Marlins didn't have a 2nd round pick. So you're one of their top 2 picks that year. And things kind of start off slow for you in the minors and really kind of continue slower than you would have hoped. At what point, what's that like when you come in with all this hype, you come in with all this success, you've achieved this dream, and now you're not getting the results you hope for. You're not you're not moving up in the minor league ranks. You're not seeing the results you want. How do you handle that when you come into it?
I ain't gonna lie. At first, I guess cause I'm still a teenager. I got drafted at 18. The next year I'm 19. Still at 20, I'm still young, but it's hard, plus you get all the critics on Twitter, on social media. You're human, you're going to look at it. But I feel like just putting yourself around good people, because like being in the locker room around guys who's like, because they know the work you're putting in. Because at the end of the day, you got to remind yourself, I'm still a good player. You'll have a lot of critics just around that be like, oh man, I don't think he can do that. I don't think he can do that. But it's like, you can't do it neither. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't do it neither. So you got to kind of remind yourself, it's like, I'm here for a reason. And that's why you get a certain coaches, like just being in pro baseball, you get connected to certain coaches. Like regardless, I got really close to a AAA coach, and he was always telling me, he was like, you're here for a reason. Don't let people change you too much. He was like, play the game. He was like, regardless if you're struggling, who cares? He was like, still do the things that you're capable of doing at your best. And so it was small things like that that made me kind of like be like, all right, cool. You know what I'm saying? I'm still in a good spot regardless. You just got to be in a good mental space. And like I said, that didn't take me till I was like 21 to really figure out. But again, like it made me a better person, I would say, at the end of the day. But it was hard. I will say. But you just kind of got to look over the results.
And this is interesting. Yeah, baseball is at this point the last sport that still drafts out of high school, I think. Everyone else requires some college before you can go into the professional level. Looking back now, were you ready for everything that came with being a professional athlete at 18, 19? Or do you think you would have benefited from a couple of years in college or just something preparing you for that shift in reality?
Truthfully, was I ready? No. And I don't think any high school kid is like naturally ready. Like at all. Like you're not seeing the SEC player of the year who is up to 97, 98, on a bad night. You're not seeing that in a high school match, maybe once every month. But then at the same, on the flip side, if if I would have went to school, maybe I would have benefited from that. But then you play with guys that did go to college. You did come off a World Series team, or, what they were hitting 380 in college, and then they come to pro ball and they struggle as well. And they're 3 years older than you. And it's like, well, maybe not really, you know what I'm saying? Cause like it's everybody. Maybe. So I just look at it like, it's always about, the kind of prep you do, you know what I'm saying? Cause like, and then the kind of, in the organization you're in as well, just kind of, doing it at the right time, just like life, you've got to be in the right time, the right moment. And it's kind of how baseball works as well.
All right. So you wrap up with the Marlins in 2022 and then spend another couple of years playing professionally with unaffiliated teams. At what point do you start to kind of come to grips with maybe this part is over? Is that a you decision? Is that just the reality you find yourself in, trying to find places to play, or what kind of wrapped up that chapter for you?
Truthfully, it was a me decision. Like it was never one of those things where it was like I had a struggle to find somewhere to play. Like I knew I was gonna have somewhere to play. Like just off of like my resume, my baseball resume, I was gonna have somewhere to play. And then just the baseball world, it's like as big as it is, it's still small because so many people, and you're always gonna have an opportunity. Not everybody, but like I said, I just knew a lot of people to reach out to. But it was more so me. Like I said, I wanted to go back to school. I kind of, that was like one of the goals I wanted to reach. Like I said, I'm currently in school, taking online classes and stuff like that now. But like I said, I just wanted to kind of rebuild something else because like I always like thought to myself, It's like I never want to isolate myself and put myself in a box of just being a sports player. It's like it's so much more than me, and I know it's like I know I can do so much and so many other things. So it's like, why just be thinking like I can play baseball? Because like I said, being in indie baseball, like you see guys that are almost 40 playing baseball because it's like they don't know what else to do, and it's like I ain't about to be that guy. You know what I'm saying? Then I didn't want to continue to play the game so much that I fell out of love with it because I still love the game of baseball.
And that's where I was going to go next. Is you've talked about like even as you're talking to Notre Dame about playing football and all these big things, that the love of baseball is driving you and the desire to play. And then you come through and you reach a goal that so many people have that so very few people achieve, and then kind of start to hit bumps, but you keep that love of it throughout. How did you keep that love for the game? Even when results turn differently, because I think a lot of people, we see it when we're watching high schoolers on Friday nights. It's easy to love what you're doing when you're successful.
Oh, yeah.
It gets hard when things aren't necessarily going your way. So what kept that love of the game for you?
Truthfully, like it's a game. I always had to remind myself that like I said, younger Thomas, like if I went 0 for 4 at the plate, I'm probably not going out after the game to get something to eat or dinner at a restaurant if we're in a nice area, walk out downtown or whatever. But the older I got, I separated the game. It was like, it's just baseball, but it doesn't define my character. It doesn't define who I am at the end of the day. So that's when I was like, I still love baseball. Like I still love showing up. Like that's one thing I've always told myself, show up. Regardless if you're on a 0 for 30 streak, because it happens. Like you will have a 0 for 30 streak. And it's like you'll hit a ball 115 miles per hour off the bat, and a center fielder makes a great play. And it's like, what do I need to do? But nothing, change nothing. Just stay the course. But yeah, that was always like, I love that. I love just showing up. I love doing the work. Like that's something I love the most. Like being in the locker room with the guys. Like kind of forget about the results. So results do make you continue to play the game and be better and move up. But if you locked in on that, you'll be in a swivel. You'll be walking in a circle your whole life. So it's like that's not a good way to be.
And it certainly seems like you were able to kind of process the game in a way that it didn't. While it was such an important aspect of your life, it wasn't the only thing, and it wasn't the only thing you had on. I want to touch on a couple of just like youth sports topics right now as you talk about some of these. You, as we've discussed, you were multi-sport athlete. You always played football in addition to baseball through high school at least. One of the things it feels like we see a lot of is pressure to specialize and pressure to like, you got to be playing baseball year round so you can get eyes on you. You can't do anything else. You can't risk getting hurt. What was important to you about being a multi-sport athlete, and what would your advice be to people now who kind of feel that pressure to just focus on one thing?
For me, the importance of playing multiple sports, like I said, all the way up until high school, I played basketball as well. Like I said, Coach Byers, he was my basketball coach in middle school, which was a great coach. But I always played basketball, football, baseball. That was like what I played. But sticking to football and baseball, I was good. Like I was really good, and I was like, why just focus on one sport when I'm really good in the other sport? Like I always think that's cool. It's like, and to me, when I see guys like, I'm just gonna focus on one sport, and I'm like, why? Like if you're really good in another sport, play it. You know what I'm saying? Like don't just. But yeah, like I think it's such an advance for guys that play double sports, because now you're working on other athletic abilities rather than in baseball, with the arm. Like I said, if you're a pitcher, you're always throwing. It's like, there's no way in high school I could just play baseball. Like right now, I couldn't be having this podcast with you right now because I'd be looking at baseball like it was the enemy. Like I couldn't, it's just no way. So like I said, those kids out there that are struggling thinking like one sport is a specialty. It's like, all right, if you're going to stick to one sport, give yourself a break, but work out, get faster. Like it's other parts of the game, get smarter within the game. Don't just think playing is the attribute. Get smarter, know what I really need to do. So I think that helps as well.
Gotcha. One of the things that I see kind of in my world in dealing with kids and teenagers and things like that is the cost and the time commitment that comes with sports, and how much it costs to be in constant travel leagues and showcases and all of these things, how much time you're putting into it. At what point did you really start to plug into travel and showcase and things like that? How old were you? And do you think we're losing something in how much it costs and how much the commitment is and what we're asking of folks so young?
So I would say for me, it was probably like 14, but thank God, by glory of God, I was put in super blessed situations where like most of the times with these big tournaments, I wasn't paying. It was like they were, it was like, all right, we want you on the team, like we're paying for you. And I'm thankful for that. That's why like when I always tell myself, show up, regardless if you're having a bad day, show up because, you're blessed. But I do think now just how the game is going, it's expensive. Like I tell people all the time, like I'm so glad I'm 28 and not 14 right now because financially, I'm pretty sure I probably wouldn't even want to put my parents in that situation, which I know they probably would have tried to figure something out, but it's hard.
Right.
I mean, it's hard. Everything's expensive just by the bats, the gloves. And also a lot of times I think the parents almost try to compete with other parents instead of just watching the kids and watching them elevate. But,
yeah.
But it's different, man. It's a lot to go into it. Really is.
Yeah. We had, I don't know if you remember the name Matthew LeCroy.
Yeah.
He played for the Twins, and his I think it was actually his older brother, Jody, coached at the high school when I was in school there. And so he had a brother who was a Major League Baseball player, and one of the things that he would tell players a lot is like, folks find talent.
Yeah.
And if you're like, they'd be talking about the amount of effort and guys even then. And that was, I'm enough older than you that I was before even your situation. And, the amount of guys who were putting all this effort into finding opportunities to play. I got to be playing all the time. I've got to be seen. And one of his things was folks find talent.
Yeah.
And that if you're putting in the work, if you're in the right place, folks are going to find you. If you're constantly having to go, at some point you got to start looking at, that's where I think people risk getting taken advantage of and things like that. So you've moved into your coaching, your broadcasting, you're in a different area of life now. Instead of being the person that folks are watching, you're the one watching other players. Is that weird? Is that a weird situation for you, or have you come to really appreciate that and get used to it?
Nah, it was never weird because I think, just because when I wasn't in this position, I would always, of course, being away from home and just keeping up with the game and stuff like that, I would look at the comments too. And I would just see how many ignorant people that would comment stuff all the time. And I'm like, now that I'm in a position to kind of help people and be like, look, this guy, he was in a good position. He just didn't make the play, and a lot of times I feel like, being in my situation, I could kind of give the kids a little bit of like, how can I say, like, just, not so much pressure because as an adult, like I said, you said it the other day when we had that meeting yesterday, it was like, as adults, we put so much pressure on kids, like they literally had a Spanish test at, 9:00 that morning, so it's like, yeah, you're going to miss a tackle. You probably missed a tackle when you were his age too. So it just happens. But now I love being in, like, I never really look at it as a point where it's like all eyes, they're not on me anymore. Like I always look at it like, whatever I'm doing, I treat it like it's my Major League Baseball. So like I said, like with me being in the broadcast and it's like, all right, now I got to suit up. I got to strap on my cleats, tie them up tight, and get ready to go.
Yeah. All right. It is officially rivalry week as this is airing. You want to hate on Clinton a little bit?
Go ahead.
Let's do it. Let's hate Clinton for a minute. Thomas, did you ever lose a football game to Clinton High School?
Never.
4 years, never got touched. What is your favorite memory from the Laurens Clinton rivalry? Either football or baseball.
Well, baseball, we lost. I did lose against Clemson in baseball. My senior year, they had a really good team. I respect those guys. I'm still good friends with a lot of those guys as well right now. But in football, we're going to talk about football more so. Probably a punt return. I didn't run it back. I did not run it back. But it was a pretty good punt return. Just a lot of, I still remember just being on I did get an interception my junior year at Clinton. Just like, it's like, none of the games, and I will say this, if Clinton people are watching, which they probably will, but none of the games were close. Like, that's one thing, like my senior year, we went into that game 0-3. We had lost BHP, Malden, and Spring Valley. And everybody was such in an uproar. Whereas, like, all the guys in the locker room were like, we going to beat Clinton. I think Clinton went into that game 3-0. I think they just beat Woodruff. They'll beat Greer. And I was like, oh, okay, like whatever. Like we're gonna beat Clinton, and I think we ended up winning like 28-7. So it was like we never worried about Clinton, which we got to change that and have the same dynamic as when we were there.
So roles have reversed a
Yeah.
little bit, but again, as of now, we don't know what happened against J.O. Mann, so we'll come in hotter next week depending on what went down. But what do you think needs to happen to kind of change that dynamic? Because it has swung so heavily to Clinton being the folks with confidence, really in all sports at this point.
I would look at it seeing success. Like I said, win or lose, got to have a success, like keeping it close. Like you almost got to make Clinton feel like they're on their heels. Like, you know, just for the guys that are coming next year, it's like, oh man, we thought we were in a good spot, you know, but we're not, you know, like, you know, right now Clinton, like, which I'm assuming they're not. I hope they're not, but they're right now, they may be in a comfortable position, you know, but for Laurens, it's like, we got to creep back. And for Laurens, you know, if they can do it going into Clinton, that's even better. You know what I'm saying? It's like to win it on their turf. Oh man, why not do it? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, it'd be good. We may film 2 introductions for the podcast next week so that depending on how that game goes, I can be as obnoxious as I want to if we manage to grab one. Well, Thomas, we're going to jump in to the Lowdown Lightning Round. We've got some lightning questions for you. Are you ready?
I'm ready, man.
All right, here we go. Quick answers. Quick. First thing that comes to your mind, biggest misconception people have about being drafted into Major League Baseball.
They probably think you're the richest person and just by far the best baseball player in the world, but you're neither.
Best minor league city to play in, live in, whatever.
Probably Greenville or South Bend or Pensacola, Florida.
Pensacola, yeah. Worst city to live in, play in, any of those things.
This is funny. Clinton, Iowa. Clinton, correct. It's Clinton, not Clinton, South Carolina, but Clinton, Iowa. Terrible.
There you go. I can only imagine. Best pitcher you ever faced?
Ooh, Adam Wainwright.
All right, there's been a lot of talk about the state of Major League Baseball right now with the Dodgers and their ability to seemingly kind of get any free agent they want, go after folks they want. Do you think the Dodgers are good or bad for baseball right now?
Man, I was talking with my buddy about this literally last week. Neither, because they can do it. They're in a market where it's like they can make it happen. But on the flip side of things, it sucks because it's like they always have a chance to compete for the World Series. And I just think right now, like, so by me saying this, I have more cons than pros, it's a bad thing, I would have to say. Yeah.
Do you think there's going to be a lockout next year?
By the looks of it, I mean, I hope not. I really don't. I really do. I hope not. But possibly, you know, if things can't like really get down to an agreement, I would say.
Who's your World Series pick for this year?
This year, I really wouldn't mind seeing the Cubs do it. I really want, because like I said, my boy, we got a guy from Malden, South Carolina, Justin Dean. He's my good friend. He's in AAA major leagues with them, so I wouldn't mind seeing him get another one.
Banana ball.
Yeah.
Are you for or against?
Man, that's tough, Andrew. Against it. Well, put it to you like this. I know it has to be quick, but for the kids watching the game, I love it. I love the creativity of it. It's fun to watch. I got a lot of good friends. I got a lot of friends that I've played against and with that play banana baseball, but just the whole point of like, it's not real. You know what I'm saying? Like the things they do in banana baseball, you cannot do that in real baseball. Like if you do that in real baseball as a pitcher, the older you get, you're going to get hit in the head by a fastball. You know what I'm saying? You cannot do that. So it's like, I am against it for the, you know, the entertainment standpoint, but it's not real baseball. But I mean, hey, it's 50-50.
If the opportunity came up, would you join a Banana League team?
I would broadcast for it. I would play one game. Maybe, you know what? The only way I would play, I would dress up. I would not dance. But at the same time, I'm a hypocrite because I'm literally going against what I said because I just don't like the whole counterpart of like, it's not really teaching the game the correct way. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't do it for the money, but the check will have to be nice.
That's the lesson that baseball teaches.
Trust the process. Like I know that's an Embiid thing, Joel Embiid, but truly trust the process. It's not going to happen overnight. Like I said, if you want microwave success, then you're not going to have it at the end. And again, it's not how you start, but it's really how you finish.
There you go. Now you've said that you kind of were careful with it. You held off with the money, but give us one thing. Looking back, what's the dumbest thing you bought with your first MLB check?
Probably the dumbest thing that I bought. There's so many dumb things to do in Miami or like close to Miami around that way. I would say, well, I guess I'm telling on myself, but it was a dog track around, it was in West Palm. We would always go there, and I would spend I really, when I say a lot of money, so I really wasn't pulling from my bank account. I was pulling from the meal money they would give. They would give you meal money every day. They give you $120 every single day. And I would probably blow $300 at the dog track. And that's gambling. I don't gamble. But then, a 19-year-old, I would do that.
Headline: Thomas Jones spends meal money on dog betting. That'll be a good clip from it. All right, you got the opportunity. You grew up in Laurens. You left Laurens. You saw the world. You saw a lot more of the world than a lot of people do. You've come back. What did you learn leaving Laurens, and what brought you back to Laurens?
Leaving Laurens, yeah, man, it was like, to me, I've always wanted to kind of get away. That's why I didn't recruit. That's why I didn't, stay and commit somewhere in state. I always wanted to kind of, and I love the city. Like Nashville, when I committed to Vanderbilt, had a little city aspect of it. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm a big fan of, when I played in New York City, I was in this upstate New York, but still, it was not the same as New York City. But I lived there for a little bit. Just last team I played for was 30 minutes away from Chicago. So it's the whole aspect of that, just the experiences. Like, I'm like, man, there's so much more out there. And then with coming back, I feel like with me being gone and coming back, it kind of gave me like a little bit of like, all right, cool. This is where I'm from. Still the same, but it's getting better in certain aspects. But it's still, like I always tell myself, it's still so much more out there for me to do and to venture off and to figure those things out too. So, like I said, like, I'm back, but not for too much. I don't want to get comfortable. That's my whole thing. I really hate being comfortable, so yeah, but it's not bad though.
There you go. Well, we appreciate you doing this for us, Thomas. Enjoyed getting to talk to you. Give me, if we've got kids watching, if we've got teenagers, ball players, folks who have the dreams that you've managed to live, what's one thing you would say to them as they're trying to figure out how to navigate those dreams?
On the days you think it's hard, it's probably not. You're just thinking too much. So don't overthink. Just keep doing. Just keep pushing. That's why I tell myself every day, it'd be hard for me to wake up just to go do some things now, regular stuff. But it's like, this ain't hard. I'm overthinking it. So just get out your head and just do it.
There you go. All right. Well, we appreciate you, sir, and we appreciate you for listening and watching and tuning in, and we'll be back next time. Bye.
Thank you.
All right.